Hello, everyone. I am, as always, Don Harris. Welcome to Cooking by the Book, presented to you by the Daniel Boone Regional Library. I am joined, as always, by my lovely assistant, Amanda Showers. Say hello, Amanda.
Hello.
We are very happy that you can join us today, either live or on recording. So today, we're going to make some delicious foods. Let me get over to my presentation screen. There we are. So, as I said, welcome to Cooking by the Book. This is the fantastic Fair session. I know it's a great pun. I made it myself.
Good alliteration.
Good alliteration. We're all about alliteration here at Cooking by the Book. So, as always, Cooking by the Book is a DBRL culinary program. We're here to expand your skills, give you some tips and tricks, all sorts of occasions. Today, we are going to celebrate the season of August. Amanda, do you know what starts, I think, today or yesterday?
No.
The Missouri State Fair.
Oh, yeah.
The state fair is in town, and so we are going to make some delicious fair food. I love the fair. I went to the fair all the time as a kid, and so I thought, since we can't go today, we're going to bring the fair to us and bring the fair to you folks. With that in mind, we are going to do some frying today. Specifically, we're going to make some corn dogs, some funnel cakes, and some deep fried Oreos, all of which will be delicious. Because I don't know if you've been to the fair, but I love the fair, and fair food is the peak of it. I love corn dogs, funnel cakes, kettle corn, candied apples, the lemonade, all that delicious stuff, elephant ears, all manner of things. Fair food it's special. It is a special place in my heart. It is delicious. It is not good for you. That's why we do it once or twice a year and no other time. But occasional fair food is okay. Everything in moderation, including moderation. So today we are going to try and bring some of that delicious fair food to you folks at home. But there's always a catch, because Amanda, I'm hearing something. I'm hearing that even if you make it yourself, some folks don't want to make funnel cakes.
Well, why not?
That is, I know it's hard to believe. Some folks don't want to have delicious, hot, crispy, sweet funnel cakes at home. And there are some common reasons. The first one is that frying with hot oil is dangerous. People shouldn't be frying in their homes. Leave that to the professionals in their carts and their restaurants. Don't bring that home. That's not home cooking. Also, frying with oil is messy. Who wants to clean up splattered oil all over your kitchen? Then you got to dealing with the oil afterwards. It's so wasteful. You get a big pot of oil and use it once, and then you got to throw it away. You can't put it in your drain. You can't just put it in the trash, or else it might eat to the bag. What do you do with all that oil? And as always, frying isn't healthy. Who wants to eat crispy, delicious fried foods? They're so bad for you, artery clogging, full of carbs, nothing but carbs in many cases. Who wants to do that?
Me.
I do too. It's a trick question, because that's all true, but it's actually not true. Because hot oil is dangerous, of course, but it is not this thing that will always hurt you. It is not something that you can never deal with unless you're a trained professional. It's not a food handler's only kind of cooking method. If you're careful and safe about how you do fry with your oil, you can do it at home easily and safely. And it can be messy, but with some minor investments and planning ahead, you can minimize the mess of your kitchen entirely. We're doing it here, and we're not going to make a big mess when we do it. And this isn't even a kitchen. Don't tell anybody. It's not a kitchen, but it'll be fine. And also, the idea that frying is wasteful is also kind of a misnomer. The only reason frying would be wasteful is if you're throwing away your oil. And the trick is, folks, you don't have to throw away your oil. You can use it more than once as long as you treat it right. You don't have to buy a big gallon of oil, use it once and throw it away. That's throwaway money, and I'm not about throwing away money in this economy. But the one ground I do have to give is that frying isn't the most healthful preparation method. But as long as you're not eating funnel cakes every day of the week or every week, it's okay to indulge every now and then. As long as you're eating a very healthy, varied diet with fruits and vegetables and lean proteins, all that good stuff, then the occasional deep fried Oreo is not going to kill you. So, the thing I want to tackle first is safety, because that is a big concern of a lot of people. And here are my tips to frying safely at home. First thing is always use a thermometer. I'm using one right now. That's a little instant read thermometer I have. I highly recommend getting an instant read probe thermometer, words, both because it'll give you a live reading of how hot anything is. I also use it for roasts and meats in the oven. It's great for that as well. But it tells you exactly how hot your oil is. And mine has a little alarm that once it gets to the temperature I want it to, it'll start beeping and let me know, oh, hey, your oil's getting hot. Either turn it off or start frying things. Because temperature is one of the biggest indicators of how you can start a grease fire. And no one wants a grease fire. That is not fun, I'll tell you. I've seen a grease fire or two, not in my kitchen, thankfully, but they don't look too fun. So use a thermometer and use a high smoke point oil. Amanda, do you know what a high smoke point oil is?
Neutral oil?
Neutral oils, just the unflavored oils. Peanut oil specific is what we're using today, but also canola oil is good. Any kind of oil that can get to a high temperature without smoking, because once it starts to smoke, that's when you're risking starting a fire. Because where there's smoke, there's fire. For instance, a good example, you can't do this with butter. Butter has a smoke point of 302 degrees. That is well below what we would need to deep fry something. Olive oil, also not good, because it doesn't have a high enough smoke point. But you can find a large list of high smoke point oils online if either peanut or vegetable or canola doesn't work for you. Do a bit of research on there and find an oil that works best for you. Another thing I would recommend to fry safely is have some kind of long utensil. This is my long slotted spoon. I also have a metal spider at home. A spider is just a big wire tool. It's got a long handle, it's a big wire mesh on the end. I use that for frying too. That was really dirty, so I got a big spoon, and this will work just fine for all of our needs today. Because you want to avoid sticking your hands very close to the oil. That is a bad plan. Before we started, as I was heating up the oil, man, what kind of sounds was the oil making?
Popping sound.
It was making popping sounds, and that's not unusual for oil as it heats up to pop a bit, especially when you hear something in there. But you don't want to be real close when it does that, because you can get hot oil all over your hands and arms. And as someone who's been burned by grease, I don't recommend it. But another thing that you want to do is, in terms of your frying vessel, don't fill it more than about halfway up. Because that way, if it does pop, it's not going to pop directly out onto you. It won't jump out of the pot as easily. And you want to control those oil at one time. I'm doing our frying in this. It's a saucepan. I've used my big Dutch oven before as well. Those are also good for that. They retain heat pretty well. But this works just fine for our use today. So only frying a couple of things. If I was frying a whole chicken or making a lot of fried Oreos or French fries, that kind of thing, I might use a bigger vessel. But even then, I wouldn't fill it up more than about halfway. And if you're really concerned about oil getting everywhere, you can buy a splatter guard. And a splatter guard is a little tool. It sits on top of the pan where you're frying stuff. It'll catch all those oil droplets as they start going everywhere. I'm not going to use one today. Mine, again, it's dirty, but it's something you can invest in. They're very inexpensive. I honestly think you can get them for less than $10. And you don't need a super expensive one to do it. Something to block all that grease will keep your kitchen a little bit cleaner. But Amanda, do you know what to do if there's a grease fire?
Well, I'm trying not to read your
Yes,
presentation.
don't cheat. Don't cheat, Amanda.
Yes, I do know you get rid of the heat source.
Yes.
You don't put water.
No, you don't.
I know that.
Do you know why?
Because oil and water, if you've ever put a hot pan in the sink,
Yes.
you'll know it will.
Yes,
explode.
that water will instantly vaporize.
Yes.
And that is how you get hot oil all over you and the kitchen. And that is not fun. And not to mention the fire. But yes, so if, God forbid, you are in the area of an oil or grease fire, what you want to do is you want to turn off the heat immediately, get it off that heat entirely. You want to cover it with something large and metallic, like a sheet pan. If you do it with a glass like my lid, there's a good chance the lid will shatter because there's a lot of heat differential and untreated glass doesn't do well in that. And then you have fire and broken glass everywhere, and that's doubly bad. The one thing you can do for smaller fires is douse it with baking soda or salt. Amanda, would you want to use flour?
No.
No, you don't want to use flour. Flour is very flammable. Flour is the kind of thing that can ignite in the air if there's enough of it. But baking soda and salt are not like that. So if you're ever cooking in a small amount of oil and you have something like that, you can go ahead and try and douse it with something like baking soda or salt. But again, if you learn one thing today, don't try and put water in a grease fire. I am shocked by the other folks who don't know that.
Question,
Yes,
does a normal fire extinguisher?
yes. So most home fire extinguishers will deal with grease fires as well, as far as I know. But if you've got a fire extinguisher, you're already a step above. You are well prepared for that sort of thing. Let's go back to that reusing oil, the wastefulness, the money aspect. Because reusing oil is actually pretty easy. It's deceptively so. What you'll want to do is you'll want to let your oil cool, and you can get whatever container you'll put it in. You can funnel it into a bottle, put it in a white mouth jar, or anything like that. Excuse me. And what you'll want to do is get a piece of cheesecloth or a coffee filter, and you'll work in batches because this will take a while. And you will fill that filter up as much as possible with your oil, and it will slowly drip down into your vessel. In the meantime, you can scoop out any big chunks, any remnants of what you were frying, and then go do other things, watch Netflix in between, clean up the rest of your kitchen because you just made something fried ostensibly. And then as all that oil filters down, fill up with the rest and keep going and keep going. At the end, you should have a lightly colored oil that you can reuse for frying. You want to store it in a place that is both dark and relatively cool. The freezer works great. If you have freezer space for this is a great place to store your oil. A cupboard would also work. The reason you want to do a dark place is because sunlight speeds up the oxidation of the oil. That turns it brown, and that gives it a greasy off flavor. And generally, according to what I've done some research, generally, you can get at least 3 fries out of oil before it starts to go bad. That's a general case. If you're frying very strongly flavored things like fish or certain other meats that have very strong flavor, they can sometimes impart that to your oil, which is something you want to be on the lookout for. If you are doing that, I would recommend you, if you're frying multiple things, like say you're doing some fish and chips, the classic English meal, you will probably do your chips first. I know, which sounds counterproductive because you want fresh, hot, crispy chips, but you also don't want your fries to taste like fish, generally. You want that contrast. But that is how you can reuse your oil quite a bit. And if you want to, you can keep in a cool, dark place for a couple months, generally. It's not something you have to use immediately. So I would highly recommend that folks look into that if you're interested in frying some more at home. So what we're going to fry today? Oh, I hinted at it a bit, but we're going to do some classic Fair corn dogs with a twist. This is our ingredient list. It's pretty simple. It is pretty similar to the general cornbread batter. If you've ever made cornbread before with a little bit of optional zhuzh to it, I added a little bit of diced onion, some cayenne, about half a jalapeno grated. Why did I grate it? Well, I grated it, one, because it's easy, but two, because by grating it, I released a lot more of that juice of the jalapenos of flavor. Not necessarily the spice, but that nice fruity kind of flavor that you get from jalapenos. I didn't use any seeds. I just grated it up until about when the seeds and the pits start. So I'm gonna get a little bit of heat, but not a lot. This won't be a super spicy corn dog, I promise. And then of course, cornmeal flour, baking powder, sugar, salt, pepper, milk, eggs, honey, and hot dogs. We are using some beef hot dogs. You can use whatever hot dogs you like. I would not recommend going past bone length hot dogs. Generally that can be a bit unwieldy in most vessels. If you're doing it in a big Dutch oven, you can probably get away with it. But normal size hot dogs would be fine. Amanda, beef or pork hot dogs?
I guess I'll say pork.
Yeah,
I'll eat either.
that not picky. I prefer the beef. I don't know. I like a good kosher hot dog. They're good stuff. But the process of making these corn dogs is pretty easy. You'll heat your oil to 375 degrees Fahrenheit. You'll combine your cornmeal and your flour and baking powder, sugar, pepper, salt, and cayenne. Mix that together. Then you'll combine your milk, your eggs, your veg, and your honey. You'll fold everything together until it becomes a thick cornbread-like batter. And then the trick to actually doing the corn dogs is that you're going to want to put that batter into a tall container. Collins glass would work great. I'm going to use some of these deli containers. They also work great. Anything that is relatively narrow and is pretty tall, so you can fit all your batter and you dip the entirety of your corn dog in. And there is a little bit of technique to getting a good coverage on the corn dog, but we'll go over that as we're actually dipping our dogs. And then after they're coated, you want to immediately put them in the fryer. Fry for about 3 or 4 minutes until they're golden brown on all sides. You might want to rotate them a bit as they're going if they're kind of lingering on one side. But really, you're just trying to go until that batter gets nice and crisp because the hot dogs are cooked. You don't got to worry about cooking them all the way through like you would, say, fried chicken. And then that is your corn dogs. And I think let's go ahead and start the corn dogs now. I think we can go ahead and get started. I'm going to stop sharing my screen briefly. Hello, welcome back. So I have my dogs here. These are coated in cornstarch, tongue twister there, largely so that they will adhere to the batter a bit better. Batter a bit better. Better indeed.
So many alliterations.
So much alliteration. I didn't plan that, but it's just how it is. So I have my dry in here, my wet ingredients are in here. I'm just going to mix this together. It's okay if it's a little lumpy, we can work that out. I'll get my spatula. And again, this is folding, so we're just gonna cut by cutting motion, get everything mixed together. It's okay if we develop a little bit of gluten, not too much, and we shouldn't because this is mostly cornmeal. Yeah, this is now becoming a pretty thick batter. It's slightly lumpy. If we wanted to work out those lumps, we could. It's not really necessary. They'll cook out. There. And that is just pretty thick batter. Slightly thicker than a pancake batter, I'd say. Again, cornbread batter is the best comparison, but that's that now. I'm going to decant that into my tall vessel of choice. Now, you probably ask yourself, Stalin, these are funnel cakes. Why aren't you using your funnel? Well, dear listeners, I have bad news. On my way here, I had all my equipment in my car, and I had to take a particularly sharp turn because Columbia drivers, you know how they are. And I heard a crunch. I was heartbroken. Unfortunately, my funnel did break, but we will persevere. I can still make funnel cakes sans funnel. They require a bit more technique, but we can get there. Amanda, when you have a moment, could you watch that for me?
Yeah.
In the meantime, I've got my dog. We got our oil is almost to temp. Is at 369. So we're going to give it just a second to get up to temp. It shouldn't take more than like a minute. I got this thing blasting right now. I've kept it at around 350 as I was talking with you guys just by turning off and on that heat. This is going to beep once it's ready. And I can actually move my probe around, make sure we're getting a good reading. Oh, so it's 374, we're hitting it. I'm pretty confident that we are there right now. Perfect. Okay. So we're at the temperature, we're going to dip straight down, beep, mix it around, make sure we're getting a good coating. And the technique I mentioned you want to do is as you're coming up, you want to twirl that corn dog and get it in there. Again, mix it around, make sure we got a good coating. I'm just going to twist our corn dog. You're going to get a little bit of splash. That's okay. Just make sure. Beautiful. Thank you, Amanda. Amanda, could you set a timer for 3 minutes? Thank you very much. Make sure these guys are breaking up and they're not all hanging out in one big corn dog mass. done that before. He's gonna be a little bit skinny, so our batter is a little bit thin. That's all right. And we get in there. So if you wanted a thicker batter, just use a bit less milk. Well, that's all there is to it. It'll still be a delicious corn dog, I promise. Beautiful. So got the rest of this batter. This batter will keep for a couple of days if you want to do this in batches, or if you need more corn dogs. The amounts of the recipe are for about 8 to 10 corn dogs. We're doing about half that, so it should be good. Oh yeah, these are cooking pretty good. Our guys that got there for the beginning are cooking a little bit faster, but that's all right.
Smells delicious.
Yeah. And make sure everything's moving around, nothing's burning. It's getting stuck together. Like the bagger oil might have been a little bit too hot. But that's all right, because we're coming up on temp. Amanda, would you hand me one of those plates over there?
Yep.
Paper towels. This guy's done, I think.
About 1 minute left.
Perfect. Which makes sense because this guy went in first.
Yeah.
Beautiful. Yeah. Rest of the guys still needs more time. One fun side effect is when you fry in this, if your batter is a little bit, you get these little crispies. These are a chef snack. That's a little fried cornbread bits, kind of like Punch Puppies, but not quite. How are we doing, Amanda?
30 seconds.
Beautiful. I'm gonna start taking these out in batches. That's the pretty one. You love all your children equally, but sometimes you know one of these is better than the others. It's fine. We're talking about corn dogs. All right, shaking them out. These are just going on to some paper towels. Get off all that extra grease. Beautiful. In and out. These are not your factory perfect corn dogs. These are delicious corn dogs. And so one thing I will recommend in the instructions is let these cool for a bit. Largely because those hot dogs got very hot. And hot dogs are pretty juicy. And you don't want to bite into the corn dog and have your mouth burned with hot dog juices. That's no fun. In the meantime, we're going to go ahead and go back to our presentation really quick and talk about the other batter, which is dessert. This is a funnel cake master batter. It is a batter that you can use for covering a lot of things. It's good just as funnel cakes too, but we're also going to use it to coat some Oreos. I know, exciting. So what our batter is just 2 eggs, a cup and a half of milk, more as needed if your batter is a bit thick, 2 tablespoons, 2.5 tablespoons of sugar, 2 cups of flour, baking powder, teaspoon fine salt, and powdered sugar for decorating. And that's literally it. So I've got our dry and our wet here. Mix the dry and the wet together until smooth, and that's your batter, and that's literally it. It's very straightforward and simple. You'll take about a 1/2 cup of your batter and pour it in slowly with a funnel if you got one. And you want to crisscross it a bit as you're doing. You start with a wide circle and just criss and cross back and forth, get those nice threads of batter that are fried and delicious. If you're doing the Oreos, just dunk them and dip them. Very, very Very simple. Each one of these will cook for about 2 minutes per side, and then you're done. And these, you should probably wait. I understand if you get the urge to try and eat these right off the bat, I don't recommend it. You will burn yourself, but I understand the impulse. So let's get back to frying. Welcome back. So as I mentioned, very simple, very straightforward. This is my dry ingredients, my flour, my baking powder, salt, all that good stuff. Into my big bowl. Wet my milk, my eggs, a bit of that sugar. I'm just gonna pour wet into dry, make a little well and start mixing. Folding that together. The best comparison I have for this batter is, this is a fair secret. It's very similar to pancake batter. In fact, a lot of the funnel cakes you'll eat at a lot of fairs and theme parks are made with pancake mix. It's an easy trick. It's cheap. You don't have to do a lot with it. And it comes out delicious every time. Now, this, as I mentioned, I start with a cup and a half because depending on a lot of factors, both temperature of ingredients, all that good stuff, batter can be thicker or thinner. This is pretty thick. And I think I want it just a bit thinner. So, got some of my milk. Step off camera. Aha. I'm going to do maybe another quarter cup. And start small. Don't want it to get too watery. We still want it to be a mix with some body to it. Yeah, that's much better. We still want it to stick to our Oreos. We also want to be able to pour it. That is much more pourable. Much better. All right. So, thank you, milk. Doing God's work. So while we wait for our things to come to temp, Amanda, you can choose a corn dog. Don't eat it yet.
Okay.
Don't eat the corn dog yet, but
Use my corn dog?
choose a corn dog. Beautiful. Yes.
Hang on.
Hold on. In fact, same. All right. I think you've waited long enough. It's been about 5 minutes. Go ahead. If it's cool to touch, I can give it a shot.
Yep. So. Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Can I see the jalapenos?
Yeah. Got a little bit of the jalapeno in there. Yeah. What
Delicious.
it is a good corn dog recipe. And if you don't want to make more corn dogs, you could probably fry this into a nice little cornbread pancake sort of situation. If you wanted to. All right. So our oil is about up to temp. We're gonna do our Oreos first. Oh, it is at the temp. Excuse me. Thank you for correcting me. So the way we do Oreos is very simple. I've got another one of these skewers here. I'm going to skewer. This is a double stuffed Oreo. Only the best. Dip it down, get nice and covered. Pour a little bit, and then my fork. Goes right in. Amanda, could you set a 2-minute timer home? Full disclosure, folks, I was a fry chef in a former life. Never fried these. Mostly fries of the normal variety. We almost lost one. Disaster. And as this cooks, that beautiful batter is going to puff up deliciously. Do you need these bamboo skewers for this? Of course not. You can get this done with 2 forks. I simply had them around, so I'm using them. It's not necessary at all. If you find yourself not making corn dogs, just use 2 forks. All right. As I mentioned, these are going to puff up a little bit. It's going to start to get very pale and golden brown first. As they go, will turn nice and deliciously golden brown. And could you hand one of those plates, please?
Yeah.
It's gonna move fast. The one thing about frying is that things move pretty quickly, folks. Thank you. This is what we'll rest them on. This is just, again, a paper plate, paper towel. Soak up some of the excess oil. All right, man, how are we doing?
40 seconds.
How's the corn dog?
Delicious.
Yes. I realized as I got here, I didn't bring any corn dog accoutrement, no ketchup, no mustard.
Don't need it.
Doesn't need it. Doesn't need it, she says. I'll take the compliment. I also was very careful and I trimmed off the sharp edges of those skewers because in the test run, your humble host did stab himself in the mouth. I was too overzealous in my corn dog eating. Happened to the best of us. All right, these look ready to flip. Flip them. Make sure we're getting nice and golden brown, delicious on both sides.
Under 2 minutes.
Yep. Oh, it's waiting to prepare, of course. The traditional powdered sugar. That's right, folks. It wouldn't be fair food without copious amounts of powdered sugar. Now, Amanda, have you had a fried Oreo before?
I don't think so.
Don't think so. The fried Oreo is an interesting animal. It does, the deep frying process does a weird thing to the Oreo that I think is very interesting. I won't say what until Amanda eats because I don't want to win the prize,
Okay.
but
I was about to ask you what, but
no, it's, you'll see in about 2 minutes. But I've in my test runs, I gave these to some other of our folks at the library here, rave reviews. Most notably, a good friend of mine on staff had a dream about it the night after. That's not exaggerating. He had a dream in which the fried Oreo featured, and I can't think of a higher compliment than that. All right, how we doing?
50 seconds.
Perfect. Now you can get a nice golden brown on both sides. I'm gonna flip them a bit more often. Don't have to do that. I'm gonna try and get these as even as possible. There is something meditative about deep frying. So it is a very controlled kind of situation. You want to keep things as active as possible, but you don't want to go too hard, otherwise you'll ruin the delicate balance of breading and oil and sweets. But it is something I recommend folks try if you're able to, if you can do it safely. There's a good way to make some delicious food. And I always recommend folks give our recipes a shot. All right, Amanda. Beautiful. All right, coming out. Again, just onto paper towel line plate. Avoid burning myself with oil. Beautiful. Okay. I will approach the camera to show what these look like. They're going to darken a bit more as they continue cooking outside the oil, but look at that, little nuggets.
Very poofy.
Very poofy. The batter does poof up and the fries. All right, temp our oil, see where we're at, see if we can go immediately in with that funnel cake batter or not. Okay, if we gotta wait a second, it's okay. Ooh, we're still running pretty hot. This is good. We're maintaining a lot of heat. We don't have to wait as long. We should be good. In the meantime, we can dress up our deep fried Oreos. Now, I had some of these pretty recently. I went down to Silver Dollar City with my family, and I saw they were on the menu, and I thought, oh, perfect. I can do some in-field research. And so I had some deep fried Oreos there. I also had a funnel cake. Their funnel cake, just okay. It's a little bit too overdone, I think, which I'm not going to fault the teenage employee who was making the funnel cake. They had a lot going on, I'm sure. I was probably the chillest customer they had in a while. But the accoutrement they had at Silver Dollar City was chocolate, like chocolate syrup and powdered sugar. I think that is fine. I think it's maybe a bit much. I think that the good old classic powdered sugar is plenty. That you could do more if you wish, but you don't have to. Navigate the bag. There we go. It's a fine line between too much powdered sugar and not enough. I was fighting that line. Put a bit in our duster. I'm just gonna tap it A nice gentle rain of powdered sugar. Beautiful. I'm not a food stylist yet, but these look pretty appetizing. I think definitely more photogenic than our corn dogs, which are delicious, but aren't as pretty.
Does it hear better if it's still hot, or does
It
it? Like
does.
dissolve?
You want to do it pretty quickly. You will get some dissolving, but that's the cost of doing business. It's the same reason that you want to salt things immediately out of the fryer, because that salt will adhere a bit. And again, doing it for the close-up, look at that. Delicious. Oh, raise it a bit. There it is. We love it. All right,
Mhm.
again. Go ahead.
The time?
It's time. We're gonna
Okay.
test it again. Oh, thank you.
All right, we'll go. The least amount of powdered sugar because of my black shirt.
We still have to, we wore black on the day we were doing powdered sugar based things. A little hot?
There we go.
Mhm.
It's like all cakey.
It is. So when you fry Oreos, they turn soft. It's a very weird way. I have not done much research on the science behind it, but as you fry the Oreo, it becomes very cakey. The cream sort of melts in between.
Yep.
And it's a very very tasty little treat.
Yes. 10 out of 10.
Yeah.
I would eat one again next fair.
And you know, you just might, depending on how things go. All right, Oreos is coming right back up to temp. And as I mentioned before, this is our master batter. We don't have to make anything else for the pony. This is funnel cake batter. Now, I would recommend taking this approach if you are doing this kind of thing at home, because it saves you a lot of work. You can make this a little bit in advance too if you need to, because it'll keep just like pancake batter would. You should be good to go in that department. Oh, also, gotta show good frying etiquette. We got some crusties in there. Scoop those out, otherwise they might adhere to our funnel cake and become overcooked and burn. And no one wants burned funnel cake. That's just sad. There we go. Let's just go over here on the cutting board to be disposed of later. All right. So I think we give this just a minute and we'll go in with our good stuff. Manny, could you wash this for me? I'm going to use this to deliver our funnel cake batter. Largely because, as I said, rest in peace, my poor funnel. I bought you a Dollar Tree. You served me well, but all good things must come to an end. Now just going to be a quick rinse, and then we're going to go right in with our funnel cake batter. I will do my best to showcase the technique, but it's of course difficult from my distance, so I will be as descriptive as I can. Yes, our oil is basically up to temp. After Amanda comes back, speak with the devil, then go ahead and dig that up.
For you.
Thank you. So, as I mentioned, I'm going to go in with about maybe half a cup, maybe a little bit more of this batter. Not too much. Because this will make a couple funnel cakes in total. So I'm gonna make one right now. What I'm going to do, because now it's actually horrible, we're just going to slowly make circles until everything gets nice and united. And back and forth. Don't want to do any too much in one place. And now everything is frying delicious. So as the batter hits that oil, it cooped up immediately. As it will do. Man, 2 minutes, please. Thank you. And I'm going to not touch this at all. It's going to set. I might dip it a little bit because there's a part that's not getting much oil, but that'll be fine. It's poofing up and turning golden brown. I'm going to store that over here because that funnel cake is going to be about as big as the vessel I put it in. I learned this the hard way when I did my batch long ago with my big Dutch oven, and I had a funnel cake the size of like a good dinner plate, and I was like, "This is way too much funnel cake." So I changed our method. I adapted. I did cook it in this. Turning nice and golden brown. Always gonna watch it. How long we got, Amanda?
1 minute.
About a minute, okay. All right, oil might have been a bit high. So, in fact, our oil is probably getting a little bit over, so what I'm gonna do, I'm gonna flip this now, flip it a little bit early. Once it starts to get golden brown on the other side, you wanna flip it. This is one of those situations where doing it by color can help a bit. Yeah. Any longer than that, and it would have been a bit overcooked. And as I mentioned, only once a burn funnel cake. But as it fried and as all that batter puffed up, it did kind of congeal into a nest of fried dough and deliciousness. The thing we all know and love as a funnel cake. I've got my paper towels on my cutting board here. Distance that. As it fries, the sound of the oil will change a bit as that oil starts being driven off and you're frying more dough explicitly. And if a bit breaks off, if it kind of crumbles a little bit and is now a bunch of pieces, that was going to happen anyway. You weren't going to eat the whole thing at one bite. You got to embrace that heterogeneity. It's not going to be the same every time. I've never made 2 funnel cakes exactly the same. I don't think anyone has. If they tell you that, they're a liar. So embrace that things will be a little bit different. You might have some bits that are a bit chunkier, a bit crispier, a bit more pillowy. And that is part of the process. All right. How long have we been going?
About 35 seconds.
That's good. I think that first fry was a bit hot because I've been pushing that temp to get back up to temp for this. And so it was a bit over, so I flipped it a bit early. That's totally okay. Now that it's had a bit of time to cook, you just break it up a little bit, but again, no problem. So we'll let it go the last 30 seconds and then take her out. Again, I'm just using, this is a common plastic slotted spoon. A spider will work better because it's a bit thinner. You can get under it a bit easier. It's also wider to manipulate better. But again, use what you have. Don't buy special equipment for this if you don't have to. Perfect. So grab the guy here. On some paper towels. Delicious. And then as before, some powdered sugar. We're gonna need a lot more this time. I was very conservative on the Oreos. I can't be conservative here.
I still got it on my shirt.
You're going to. It is an inevitability. It is impossible to eat funnel cakes in a way that is clean and does not get you covered in powdered sugar. But that is part of the fun. It's a messy food that you eat when you're walking around a fair, riding roller coasters, drinking lemonade, trying to not die of heat. It is part of that summer experience, and it is, of course, the last day of summer reading. So I wanted to share this with all of you folks. I was afraid in our last part I mentioned that will be the last one. I was able to sneak this one in under the wire so I could share this nice summer food with you for summer reading. Beautiful. And that is a funnel cake. I'll get a little portion over there and bring it to the camera. It's crispy and delicate, but delicious. We got the powdered sugar. Oh, there we go. It is a light golden brown. Delicious. Highly recommend. All right, that is a third of our fried things. Amanda,
Yeah.
please have some funnel cake. I know you were waiting for me to ask.
Wait my turn, patient.
Go ahead, take that one. Some funnel cake.
Now you get to tell them what you.
Uh-huh,
Oh, good.
it is.
Not overdone.
Nope.
Perfectly good.
The reason I like this recipe is that funnel cake is crispy, it's sweet, it's got a nice chew to it still. It's not shatteringly brittle, but it's still got a very good crunch.
Very good.
That is our recipe for today, folks. So, once again, as always, I want to thank you for joining us. We hope that you enjoyed this program and that you learned some new tricks to try in your own kitchen. The recording of this program will appear on our YouTube channel, youtube.com/dvrl.org in the near future. And we hope that you'll join us for future sessions of Cooking by the Books. I want to say happy summer reading. I hope you all have a wonderful time, and I hope that you all have a great weekend. All right. Have a good one, folks. Take care.